Morning, everybody. It is the morning of the 4th of March. I know I said it was the 4th of March yesterday too, but I was wrong. Yesterday was the 3rd. Today's the 4th. It's a Monday. It's a cloudy day, but relatively comfortable temperature-wise. Not going to have much sun today, but it's still going to get up into the 60s. After that, it's going to rain for several days, starting tonight and into Tuesday, and for several more days after that. So today, probably the last time I get a chance to do a lot of work in my project car, at least outdoors. Um, I haven't been in my shed yet, but it didn't get that cold last night, so I'm sure the temperature's fine in there. I'm sure the humidity is fine. I'm just going to double check that in a minute when I walk back there. I'm more concerned about tonight once the rain starts. Temperature wise, I don't think that's going to be a problem, but there's going to be water seeping into my shed again. That might raise the humidity levels, so I'll have to keep a close eye on that once the rain starts. Um, Today, my goals primarily are to just do detail work on the car, mostly putting the dash back together. I should be able to, if all goes well, I should be able to completely reassemble my dash today, including the dash pad, once I get that uh, transformer moved to my new front radio speaker. Um, and of course, I'll start by finishing up with the carburetor linkage, assuming my JB Weld fix held. I will put the linkage back on the carb, and that should be finished. Had a user suggest that I have my mechanic tack weld that little piece on, and I actually thought about doing that, but I'll start with the JB Weld. See how that goes. Oh, and by the way, yesterday was my 100th video too. For the future, I'm planning on rearranging some videos or making some new playlists or whatever to make things easier to find for myself and for anybody else that's looking, projects based on the carburetor, the gas tank, little snippets like that instead of just kind of lumping it all together like I am right now. All right, I'm in my shed now. It's a little cooler in here than I was hoping to see it. 55 is supposed to be the minimum acceptable temperature. And as you can see, it's 54 and a half in here right now for the tank to properly cure. The humidity level is fine. 72% is perfectly fine as far as that part goes. So I'm, I guess I'm going to have to, I had the heater thermostat turned down apparently a little bit lower than I should have last night. Didn't want to keep that thing running constantly, so I'll just crank it up a little bit tonight when I close up for the day. So anyway, the tank's looking good. Well, it's a tank. What do you expect? So anyway, that's it for now. All right, I guess my idea is just not going to work. That part works fine with the little, nub sticking out there against the idle screw. What I didn't account for was when it hits the fast idle cam, when you try to accelerate, it just hits right up against it and it won't go anywhere. Well, when the choke is open, that's hard to demonstrate with one hand, but if I hold that open with the choke open, it only goes back so far, and that's obviously not going to work. So, and looking at the design here, I can see what that gap is for now. It goes around that little can there. So this will work, just for an initial test drive around the block or whatever. So I'm going to leave it, hook my rod into it, but eventually I'm going to have to find a replacement rod that's about half an inch longer than this one, preferably one that's adjustable. I'll see what I can do about finding one of those. That's going to be ultimately the solution I'm going to have to find, because I have to use this design that they have on this new carburetor. So I'm just going to have my temporary solution in place for now while I search for a longer rod, accelerator rod, throttle rod. Continue on in my shed now. I just ordered a universal throttle rod on Amazon. It has threads that you can adjust the length of it. It starts way too long, so I'm probably going to end up shortening it. But the diameter of it is correct, so I should be able to use it. So in the meantime, I'm in the shed now for a little while. I'm going to start with my radio speakers. This is my old radio speaker that doesn't work. The transformer part is fine. It's for the rear speakers. Besides powering the front speaker, it also sends power to the rear radio speaker, so I need this. Here's my new speaker. Bought it on Amazon. It was not expensive. It's probably much better shape than the old one, even when they were both new. So I'm going to start by taking off these little bolts on here that hold this on. I've got a soldering gun right here, so I can disconnect the wiring and then move it over here. The tricky part is this little bracket down there that's attached to the old speaker that those screws mount on. I'll have to figure out a way to attach those somehow to my new speaker. So we'll see how we do with that. Also, for my own documentation, the wire on the left is the positive side, and that's negative, which is opposite of this new speaker. The positive is on the right side, so I have to make sure I get that correct. Okay, I'm making good progress here. It took a while to get this bracket off of here, the little spot wheels. I had to drill through and finally pry it off with a screwdriver. Use a soldering gun to take that wire off, that green wire. And as I mentioned before, the positive on this speaker is on the opposite side from this one, so I'm going to switch that around. Although I'm not sure it really matters, but since it's marked positive and negative, I'll go ahead and follow that. I had to be very careful drilling holes into my new speaker so I didn't puncture the speaker cone, but I managed. On this screw, I actually shortened it in my grinder over there, so to make sure it wasn't going to be anywhere close. So I don't know if you can really see the screws in there, but they're plenty far away from the speaker cone, so I got that part done. Also had to make sure the bracket, the screws here would still line up with those screws there. They do, so now all I have to do is reattach this to the original bracket with my little screws. Then I'll solder this green wire on the positive side. On the negative side, on this one, it was grounded to the frame of the speaker. So I can do something similar here. I'm just gonna put a little speaker wire on there and attach it maybe with a ring terminal or something at the other end, or just solder it directly to the to this little frame here on the transformer, something like that. I'm running a test of my newly configured front radio speaker. It's working. All speakers work now. Fades to front and rear like it's supposed to. All front. So this is the AM radio, of course. It'll be what I'm using temporarily. See if the antenna buttons work. Yeah, they do. The antenna needs some help. Anyway, so with that done, I can now attach that speaker to the dash pad and get that back on the car. But before I put the pad on, that'll be one of the last things I do. I'm going to put all the other stuff in place, starting with that dash plate that I painted. So that's next. All right, I just installed my reworked dash panel there. It definitely is not original anymore. All the writing that used to be here is gone, but I still think that looks so much better than all the pitting that was there before. So I'll live with that. Next goes the radio and the AC controls and all that. The dash reassembly is moving right along. The speaker, I glued this this old cover or screen that was on the original speaker onto my new speaker. I just use clear silicone adhesive sealant, and this seal here had also come loose, so I glued that back on just now with the same clear silicone glue, so that works out pretty well. And I discovered when I was about to attach this radio onto the dash pad that those little tangs that were like this were interfering on this side. They wouldn't fit. So I just took it to my grinder and ground it down. So now it'll fit. So now I'm going to attach my new speaker to that. Quick progress report. It's a super nice day out now. The sun's out, mid-60s again, upper 60s. I'm really digging this weather. Digging, get it? 60s terminology? I guess it's still used today sometimes. But anyway, my dash is coming together very nicely. That's what it's looking like right now with the radio and the air conditioning controls back in place. You can see what my repaired, refurbished slightly plate looks like now, cover. Got cut off by a phone call there that I had to ignore, spam. Anyway, one thing I noticed, which I did not realize until today, and now of course I can't find it, the knobs on the radios and all the controls were different between 66 and 67. It's a subtle difference, and I had apparently put the 66 knobs over here and 67 knobs over here. The difference you can see right here. It has a wider chrome strip on the knob. I didn't even realize there was a difference. I mean, I'd seen it with my eyes, it registered in my brain, but not in my consciousness, if you know what I mean. It's such a subtle detail. I didn't realize it was even different until I saw it in my own car with two different styles. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I noticed on 66s they have a chrome. They have the chrome all around the windshield too. Where in 67 they did away with that, which I think is a shame. I love the chrome look, but that's okay. I mean, this looks nice too. You see my dash is sitting on the front seat now, the dash pad, so I'm getting ready to install that. Got my speaker all set up on there, ready to go. I had to drop this lower panel again, even though I'd had it hooked back up. I got everything hooked back up underneath, my new replacement wiper switch, everything's in place. Um, but I had to drop it again because the dash pad connects under here, and I need to have access under there to finish installing it. So next thing going back in the car is the dash pad. All right, as you can see, my dash is back in place. It's not totally secured yet, but the spring clips are under the windshield. They're engaged, and the little side trim pieces right there in both corners are in. I also just glued my rearview mirror button back on, and my rearview mirror looks really nice now. Showed it to you earlier, and I glued that piece back on that had broken off, and you really can't even tell. You can kind of tell there. I just used some more clear silicone adhesive, and that works great. So that'll look nice when I get it on. What I'm going to do right now, you probably don't remember this, but when I took this dash off last summer, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, however long it's been, might have been longer, I discovered a manufacturing flaw right here. There's three screws that go underneath the dash that hold it to the metal dash underneath. On this corner right here, there was a screw there, but it was not actually in the metal part. In fact, there wasn't even a hole in the metal part. It was bent back. So I straightened it up, used a hammer and pliers, straightened it up real nice, and now I'm going to just drill a little hole there and put a trim screw there. I mean, that's completely unnecessary, of course. Nobody's ever going to know, but I knew, so I was determined to make that right. So little things like that are important to me. So this is what the dash is looking like now. She's coming along real well. Almost done with that. I finally found the trim piece that I was looking for, and when I found it, I also found this bar, which I completely forgot about. This thing is supposed to mount underneath across the back here all the way, and I completely forgot about it. So this is what happens when you get old. But anyway, the trim piece I was looking for is this one. Now it looks very similar to the other one that goes for a tilt column. You can see there's a little wider stance down here. Now the tilt column, interestingly enough, has a narrower point right here, but wider at this point, narrower for this one. And the reason I really wanted it is because this little trim piece, this little metal trim piece that's sitting on top here, it's got these little tangs on it, both at the top and on the side, that engage right here where my finger is on both sides to hold it in place. So that's why I wanted to find this. So now that I found it, I can put that on and put that bar on that I forgot about, and then put that lower dash piece back on. All right, I'm wrapping it up for the day. It was a good day. I wish I could work more, but I worked all day as it was, so it was a good day. One of the last things I did was I went ahead and hooked up my fuel lines to the permanent steel lines that lead to the back of the car for the gas tank that I'll be installing in hopefully about a week. So I was brave. I know that both lines are supposed to be inside the insulation here, but this one is pointed at a weird angle because of that fitting. And since I'm going to be putting a 3-port pump on here eventually when I rebuild it, that's not going to be an issue at that point. So right now, I've just got it sitting like that. It's out of the way and it's connected. So I'm pretty excited about that. I don't remember if I mentioned it, but I did order a generic or a universal adjustable throttle rod. So I'll install that when I get the chance when it arrives. And I'm real happy with the dash. Isn't that pretty? It's almost complete. I almost got done, but not quite. There's just a little too much detail work involved, but it looks really nice. I'm very pleased with it. Obviously, I still have that panel to put on there for the registers and the clock. I got to clean that up a little bit before I put it in there. Besides, I ran out of time. That little piece that goes there as well, and I still have the kick panels to install, that kind of stuff. But the dash is really nice, even though it's got that little typical split there. Overall, it looks great, and I'm very pleased. Um, oh, the rearview mirror. How could I forget that? This car The rearview mirror was in the trunk of the car when I bought it. The button wasn't even on it, but I glued it back on today, and I just now attached it. That was the last thing I did, so that's pretty exciting. I can now drive it feel more, safe about driving it. I do have that center piece that goes here as well, but it was kind of falling apart a little bit, so I don't know if I'll put that back on yet or not, but pretty exciting. My radio works, such as it is. My fans work like they should. It's an AM radio, sure, but it works. So, anyway, it's a good day. Have a good evening.